Actually, we need the families to get more involved with their, you know, their family members. They need to get more involved with their children's, what's going on with their children and their other family members, their nieces, nephews, grandkids. That's what we need to do. We need to get more involved. And just let instead of letting somebody else say, you know, deal with it. Here's my kid, help them. We can't help them. We can't have that. We have to actually be involved with their recovery and their treatment. So that's why I'm here. And I'm glad I'm here. I'd like to listen to Mark. Some stuff I never heard either.
So. Hey, you still got your famous Dave's bib on. Do we take that off? I'm just joking.
Anyway, I see you're going to the corral.
Yeah, that's good. Thanks a lot, Baba. Thanks for coming. I know you're concerned about that and you're kind of upset about us, but thanks a lot for sharing. Our next.
I don't think it's just us guys who kind of have that thing going on, because I was coming back from Denver to South Dakota and I was sitting at Great Lakes airline. Whoa. Anyway, there was a guy sitting next, or just kind of the back seat next to us, complaining about all the connections he had to make to get back to Williston. So I perked right up and was like, oh hey, you work in Williston, cool, I'm from Newtown. And went to shake his hand, and this man was about the rudest man I'd ever come across. Proceeded to tell me, don't be offended, but your state is shit. And I'm like, oh geez, we're so sorry that we're offending you. And so I asked him about why is it so tough? And he lives in one of those man camps. And I'm like, well, sorry, there wasn't enough housing for us guys, let alone when you guys came. And I tried to explain that this has been, our population has doubled in size. And so where else, and I don't think as a state we were ready, so that's kind of why these man camp things sprung up. And he's like, well, it's just I've never been in a state this horrible. It's ugly, and you are 50 years behind, and it just, and I was,
well, how come he was coming up?
That's what I kind of thought too. It's like, well, geez, if it's that bad, stay in Texas.
Yeah.
See, and I just kind of got to wondering, it's like, well, I don't know, maybe as a state as a whole, when this all started coming to be, and I think state government knew it was coming before all of the lay people, us, just regular people knew they were coming, if they had thought about that and how this was going to impact us. And I mean, to the point where people are kind of half scared to go into the gas station back home, because there's such looks. And,
well, they're the ones that are bringing, you know, it wasn't that bad till they got here.
Well, it was bad anyway.
No, I think it was them.
More people.
All right, well, our next presenters are Bill and Ed. Bill and Ed are they're doing a vision. What is it? Well, they can explain it when they come up. This is Ed Hall. He works for, Ed did a lot of work for the tribe. Ed helped with the bridge, and he did a lot of, he's an engineer. Did you work for the BIA too, Ed, at one time? Oh, go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, well, good afternoon, everybody. It's interesting listening to you. And I think what you've been talking about is what we're working on. Like Mark was talking about that tax. You know, back in 1988, I came home and worked for a year with Ed Lonefight when he was chairman. And we passed a resolution establishing a tax commission for the tribe. And the purpose of that tax commission was to get the tribe into the tax business. We had no tax commission, and this job that Mark has is kind of a result of that. But the purpose of that tax commission was to establish tribal taxes. And it all came from that court case he mentioned, the Cotton Petroleum case down in Arizona or New Mexico, where they took the tribe to court, or the tribe wanted to tax their oil. They had oil and gas. And the Supreme Court said, no, you can't, because that doesn't belong to you. The minute you signed an oil lease, that belongs to the oil company, and we're taxing the oil company. See? But if it had been a tribe's oil, they couldn't tax it. But they could tax it when that oil company got it under lease. And that was in 1988, and I came back and Ed Lompreit asked me, he and Jimmy Bluestone were working there then. So we put together that resolution, and the thinking was then, and then you go to, I work quite a bit in the Southwest with the Pueblos and Apaches and Navajos. And you go into the Pueblos down there and you can fill up with gas with no state tax, because they have Indian land and they're selling gas on tribal land, and they say, state, you can't tax us. And they did it for quite a while. But the thinking was that we were going to get gas stations at Mandaree, White Shield, and Twin Buttes. And it would be on Indian land, and we could get a tribal gas tax and start collecting a gas tax. We also passed a resolution asking the Bureau of Indian Affairs to transfer all of the road rights-of-ways back to the tribe, or to the tribe. And the reason for that was that the state took us to court for collecting a tax. We could have a good case. We're saying we're collecting a tax just like you are to maintain our roads. Okay? Mm-hmm. And we had that game plan all laid out. But, and I'm sure it would have worked. But the trouble is, not too long after that, we had an election and new administration got in and didn't follow through with it, see? So when our oil hit us, and there again, our trustee, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and our tribal council totally let us down. You know? We should never have given up all these rights-of-ways. We should have had our taxes in order so that we were taxing. If we were taxing that oil, that state couldn't come in and tax over our tax. See? So there's a lot of that we just lost out on because we didn't know any better. And it was tough to get information across to them. Mm-hmm. And then what we've experienced in the oil fields, like he says, he can show what we lost. Well, you all know what we lost. We lost big money. And we will continue unless we fix it. But we really need to fix our government. So what we did, we wrote a proposal to do a visioning for our tribe. We know that we're going to have the money that Mark talked about on the oil and gas. We're going to have an oil refinery, all right? We have an oil company now that's going to be drilling wells. We have our casino. We have our federal dollars. When you add them all up, how much money we're going to have? Yeah. You guys should all kind of have an idea, but nobody knows. But it's going to be a lot of money. So what are we going to do with it? Where is our plan for investments like he talked about? Mm-hmm. What do we want out of it? What do we want? Where's our vision? So we wrote that up in a proposal, and the Bush Foundation and the Northwest Area Foundation funded us. So our project is not being done by tribal money. It's grant money from these foundations. And our purpose is to build that vision. What we want. Okay. Now, like you said, you can go by yourself to council. Verdell knows it, mm-hmm. and say something. They'll say, "Get out of here," or whatever. But if the people develop a vision, then you present it to the council, and we change our constitution. They will have to follow it. Okay. Now, there's another thing that you should have mentioned. In 06, 04. It was in the middle of 04, the tribe formed a constitution committee. And we met twice a month for 2.5 years. We spent well over $500,000 on it. And we drafted a constitution for the tribe. In that constitution, it has separation of powers. that we were talking about. You have your executive, your judicial, and legislative. We don't have a council. We wouldn't have a council. We'd have a legislative branch. And they would be like they would be maybe working 6 months a year instead of micromanaging all year. But your administrative would have to run the show then. But the laws and so forth would be developed by your legislative. And the judicial then, we would have that attorney general that would, you know, look out for us. But I don't know why, that never even got to a vote. It went around to the communities, but it never got approved by the council, and they never did ask for a secretarial election. That's an election that's called by the Secretary of Interior. And I think all of you probably got an absentee ballot on the last go-round. They do that way. They have, the Bureau of Indian Affairs mails that out for the secretary. That's how they run. So, but this one never got out, and I don't know why. But it's there, and we have it posted on our website. Did you, how many of you got our letter with the brochure?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. In that, I got some I'll hand out here. I'll go get them in my car. But in there, we have a website, MHA Nation Tomorrow. And we've posted that 2006 Constitution. And we posted the Constitution that we are under today. See? And we posted the ethics code on there so that the people would know what's going on. And it was just to inform every tribal member. We mailed out, we went to enrollment, and we got our enrollment by gender, age, and address. So we sorted them by addresses. And we mailed it out to every home, every tribal home. And I think it was 6,600. And we mailed that out to them. So everybody would know, everybody would have an opportunity to comment on the Constitution and get involved in seeing what we want for a vision for our reservation. So that has been mailed out. And we had a meeting here in Bismarck Saturday on it. Russell was there. And that was the start. Now, tonight, or no, tomorrow, we meet partial. Last week we met in Newtown. We're going to Twin Buttes, or anyway, White Show, Twin Buttes, and Mandarila. But that's our first go-round, and to kind of get the people thinking, really what you want. And there are some major parts to it, and you talked about it a little bit here today. Education. Education of our youth. And the schools are going to be presenting and tell you where the problems are that are going to take us downhill. We're kind of at a crossroads here. You know, we all grew up on the edge of poverty, financial poverty. We didn't have the dollars, but we had wealth in our culture. You know, we had a good life. But now we have all this money, and we all panicked. It was normal. People living on the edge of poverty like that, and they get that kind of money, boy, they get happy and get going, you know. We didn't stop and plan, and we didn't get people's input, and we don't know where we're going with it right now. There's no way you can stop anything. You said that.
Jay, roll
You
right
know,
over
you
here.
can, how can you influence anything? You have to have a plan, and it has to be made up by the people. And that's why we have this grant, is to allow the individuals to comment. And we want to gather all of your visions, all of your dreams, and put them into a vision for the tribe. Now, after we get a vision of what we want, then we look at our tribal constitution. Will our government get us to that vision? You know? You know it will. We don't have zoning ordinances, we don't have commerce codes, you know, and our form of government, the way it is, the council could spend it any way they wanted. They don't have to come back and ask you for anything. So we know that we have to fix that constitution. So after we get a vision and of something where we want to go, let's fix our constitution to get us there. Now, we've fixed our constitution, we know where we want to go. Let's do a strategic plan of how we're going to get there. And that's what this project is for, that we're working on. And we've been in it almost a year now, but we've been doing a lot of, busy work getting it ready. And part of it is we have been working on a database. We're trying to develop a tribal vital and demographic statistics office. So you know from statistics how you can measure the impact of it. And just looking at it, with little bit we have, when the oil came, you can see the dropout rate in school rising, the drug and alcohol arrests and so forth, they're rising with this oil impact. So you can see the impact of the oil industry. Now what are we going to do about it? So that's one part. The other part, we're building a RIMS, Reservation Information Management System. That's built on the GIS platform, mapping platform. Folks are familiar with GIS, but it's digital, and you GPS, if you've heard that term, and you map. But what it is, it puts all of the infrastructure on the reservation on a computer. So when the council is meeting in the council chambers and they discuss range units, you can look at all of the range units, who has them and so forth. If you want to look at your water system, you can see where your water system is. If you have a planned community, you're going to see you zoned it. You have your future housing here. You have your industrial here, your commercial here, your business here. And you can coordinate your program so that when you go to build houses, you know where you're going to get your water, your sewer, and your streets so that the project can move. So that's coming out of the RIMS, the coordination. We're trying to get that put together. But anyway, when we get all of that, then the communities, we hope that we'll have planned communities. Everybody says we have a housing crisis, you know? Well, I don't know how many housing programs we've got. Who can tell you who they are, what their policies are, what are they for, how do you apply, how do they make their selections? See? So who knows where to go to get housing help? There was one program, 210, where they gave homes away. You know, councilmen passed out homes. That's buying votes. And we don't need that kind of programs on our tribe, you know?
That's
So-
how we got in debt too, was that program?
Huh?
That's how we got into debt, right?
I don't know. I mean,
Let's not dive in this.
and you talk about, and the thing of it is here, we do things like this, and here comes the IRS looking at us. We don't want them in there. But they're looking at who got free homes, and you're going to pay income tax on it. See? And that's drawing them in to scrutinize us. And we don't need that. There's just a lot, you could go on, but the purpose of our program, and here today, you know, we can complain. I could complain all afternoon. But at 5 o'clock tonight, we wouldn't have anything. You know, we'd still be complaining. And that's why in this project we adopted, we're going by what they call appreciative inquiry planning. Bill, and I took training on that, and Bill is the leader on the planning part of the appreciative inquiry. I'll go over it, he'll explain it better, but I'll just give you a fast overview. But basically, you don't talk about problems like we're doing, you know. Forget your problems, leave them at home. Because we can, like I said, we can talk about them all day long and we won't be any place. But we want you to kind of brag first. Think of what are you proud of. If you were to get up, I ask you, get up and brag about Fort Berthold. What could you brag about? Okay. What are you proud of? Russell used to be a good dancer, he's too old now.
I'm in my prime.